Hey guys, welcome to my channel, and if you've been following this journey for a while, then welcome back. Thanks for joining. We are 1 month away from our estimated due date, so that's super crazy, and also because of that, I basically have like a to-do list a mile long, or just multiple to-do lists, and my content that I wanted to have ready for this video in particular is not ready. So instead, we're just gonna talk about where my mind is at, where my head's at in this whole process, and hopefully, if you are either in the same boat with your own pregnancy journey and you're starting to think about these things, then maybe some of this will be helpful to you, or at least jog your memory of something that you might need to add to your own list. If you've already been through this before and you've got any tips for me, I would love to hear your thoughts. So that is what we're going to be focusing on for this video. Basically just an update for weeks 34 and 35, and then sustainable living in the sense of like physical and mental health sustainability. Not so much about the environment this time, and that's okay. If you're interested in any of that, then keep on watching. So another reason why the content that I had wanted to share for this video is not quite ready yet is basically, simply, I'm just tired. I'm so tired. Let's just jump right into the pregnancy symptoms. I'm currently halfway through week 35 and 1 month away exactly from the due date, or the estimated guess date, because baby is gonna come when he's gonna come, and he doesn't need to be due on a specific date. Anyway, yeah. Week 35 and week 34 have been pretty tiring, and I'm enjoying all of it. I am definitely not complaining by any means, but I'm just so tired. I've basically gotten to the point where I feel so big, and walking and sitting and lying down, basically any possible position that I could be in, just doesn't feel natural or comfortable, and definitely doesn't feel the way that it used to. So it makes things a little extra challenging. Yeah, so I'm living off of just, a few hours of sleep a night, and that's okay. We're getting ready for motherhood, apparently. Although I know that I need to speak more positively about that, because we're going to be trying to implement a lot of what we've been learning. We're going to try to do our best to establish some kind of a sleep schedule. So I know that it will get better, but maybe for right now, this is kind of good training for my body to just get used to being up multiple times in the night. Last night, I had to get up 4 times, actually the past few nights in a row, but I had to get up 4 times to pee, and he's moving around, and they're constantly, I feel bad for the little guy, because, I mean, he doesn't know any different, but I feel like he's just got to be so squished. And it doesn't matter if I lie on one side or I turn over and I lie to the other side, it just feels like he has no room. And so I just constantly feel like I'm squishing him and he's moving around, and so then I'm kept awake, and so it's a lot of tossing and turning back and forth. Surprisingly, I don't have a bunch of lower back pain. I've heard that that's super common, especially at this point, because you just can't get very comfortable. I don't have a ton of back pain right now, but I do notice like a lot of pressure on my hips. So when I'm lying on one side for too long, then that hip starts to feel really uncomfortable. So then I flip over, which is also not as easy as you might think. Being 35 weeks pregnant, I kind of feel like a whale, like trying to flip myself over. So, but then I flip over the other side, and then after a while that hip starts to hurt. So it's just constant back and forth, and that's where we're at these days. So I'm tired. That's a symptom, I guess. Positions are just different and a little bit uncomfortable. Just takes some getting used to and readjusting all the time. And then besides that, I think really the only other symptom from these past couple weeks is there's like this balancing game between having a little bit of heartburn and then being super hungry. And so it's a weird thing to be juggling. For example, last night, I didn't eat a lot of dinner. I had a pretty small portion because especially by the end of the day, I get to the point where I just feel like I'm so full and I'm so big that there's not a lot of room in there to handle more. I think the problem is that I really haven't hit my limit, or I could have eaten more, maybe snacked on something later in the night, because then I wake up like this morning and I'm starving. I'm like hungry as if I haven't eaten in years. And so I had this gigantic bowl of oatmeal, like packed with all the protein, like so many seeds and nuts and almond butter and just everything. And then I was still super, super hungry once I was done with that whole thing. And so then I had 2 pieces of avocado toast, and I was just eating as if I've not eaten enough in a long time. So that's an interesting game to play. We'll see how it goes for the rest of this pregnancy for a few more weeks. So that's it as far as like pregnancy symptoms go, and then I'll give you the size update and show you the bump. We have, starting next week, because we'll be at week 36, we've got weekly appointments until he's born. And so I'm excited for the week 36 appointment because we will actually get to do an ultrasound to just for sure check his positioning, and then also check like the amniotic fluid levels and make sure things are looking all good in there. We haven't had an ultrasound since halfway through at week 20, and so I'm really excited to see what that looks like. Basically after that, they're just going to be continuously checking to make sure that everything seems good. Week by week it'll go by, and eventually he'll come. So that's where we're at. So in week 34, so I pulled up my app that I always use, and it said that he was the size of a muskmelon. And I have never in my life heard of a muskmelon. I don't know if you have, but I Googled it, and it seems like it's basically a cantaloupe. So I don't know if I've got that right, but I don't know, somewhere around the size of a cantaloupe is what he was on week 34. And then now in week 35, he has been the size of a small spaghetti squash. So that's roughly like 18.2 inches and then 5.3 pounds. So I mentioned this in the last video, but for weeks now, it's been like he's packing on about ½ a pound every single week. And so it's just like a drastic difference than what I was used to feeling in all the weeks before that, where it was like his growth just seemed so slow and so gradual. Small spaghetti squash-ish. Okay, now I will show you the bump. Nora's staring in the background like, what in the world are you doing? But yeah, so it finally feels like fall time now, so I'm just wearing this hoodie that's, makes it look a little bit frumpy, but I think you guys will be able to get the general idea. That's the bump for week 35. Okay, so normally at this point we would talk about something related to sustainability in the sense of the environment, just living sustainably in general, and how I've been doing that throughout this pregnancy or preparing for once we actually have the baby and entering that whole new phase of life. If you hear squeaking, Nora is just attacking her chew toy. Anyway, this video though, like I said, is more along the lines of like a mental health sustainability check-in, for lack of better words. So I'm basically just gonna share some ramblings of where my head's at, and I would again love to hear from you if you're also in the same boat and considering a lot of these things, and what is that like for you right now? What are you doing? What are you not doing? What are you prioritizing? And if you've already gone through this or just have other thoughts to share, I would love to hear from you as well. That being said, man, there's just so much to consider in the next month. And honestly, it's more like the next 2 weeks, because he could come at week 37 and be considered full term. So there's a lot that it feels like needs to get done still. And we have all the big things, so I'm not as worried. Like, I know if he came even right now, it would ultimately be fine. We have everything that we need to keep him alive, so that's good. So this is one of the lists that we've been working off of since Labor Day. We put that whole list together, basically not assuming we would get it all knocked out on Labor Day weekend, but really we were intense about it. We did take all 3 days and got a lot done, but so much of it is still left, or we keep thinking of things and adding to it. So where we're at right now, basically, there's lots of things that I think I need to get done by the end of this week, like prepping our go bags. So that was one thing I actually wanted to be able to have ready for this video and kind of share with you guys, like, oh, what's in our go bag? No, not ready at all. So when it is time to go to the birth center, we need to have stuff ready. Basically, I'm making like a bag for the baby and a bag for Kevin and I, and other random things that we might need to throw in there. I've got this whole like list getting ready for birthing that our doula support team sent out. So it's got like, it's helpful. It's got like, here's what you should probably have for bag 1. Here's bag 2 for like, this is for like being in the car on the way there. This is the labor and birth portion, and then there's like after the baby is born. So we're structuring our bags a little differently organization-wise, but all of this stuff is like really helpful to think through that we might need to pack. If I do get a video done on that before he's born, then I'll definitely share it with you. So that's something that needs to get done probably by the end of this week. And then also we have the car seats and like the bases for them, but they're not set up yet in the cars, and so we really need to do that and then make sure that it's like, I think we're going to install that ourselves and then go take them to get checked. So I don't know if you know that, but there's like official checks that you can do different places. I think if you just Google like car seat check in your area, you should be able to find places. And typically, I think what shows up are like fire stations or something like that. So anyway, we're going to make sure that our car seats have been properly installed up to all the codes that is required for safety, and then we'll be good to go there. I'm still working on typing up our birthing plan. And yeah, we've been like thinking through it and learning so much in the classes that we've been taking, but then didn't feel like we were ready to actually type it out yet. And so now I feel like we're at that point where not only does it need to get done, but we've learned so much that I think we've got a good idea for like our preferences. So ideally it's going to be used just to keep Kevin and I on the same page if all goes according to plan at the birth center. But in the case of a transfer, if we were to have to go to a hospital, then it would be really good to have this typed out so that way like Kevin has something to reference. Our doula support will also know like exactly what our preferences are, and then we can make sure that Nora is making so many sounds. I don't know if you can hear that, but it's super distracting. Basically, it's just good to keep us on the same page and to hopefully have the kind of birth that we are envisioning and planning for, no matter what the setting is. So, gotta finish that. Another big one is that we still need to set up a pediatrician. We don't have one. And yeah, like I feel like time is really crunched on that. So, we have some recommendations, but we really need to just contact all of those people and set up maybe some virtual meet and greet type things because of COVID right now. But we really want to make sure that we have landed on a pediatrician that feels aligned with where we're at, with the lifestyle that we live and the preferences that we have, and just all of those things. So we need to pick a pediatrician and get all of those ducks in a row. And then there's a lot of home things on this list, just things that would be really, really nice to have done so that we don't have to worry about it as soon as the baby comes. So, for example, like Kevin wants to focus on winterizing our AC unit that we just recently installed this summer in our bedroom. So it's one of those like wall units. That's all just random. You don't need to know that, but Kevin wants to focus on winterizing that to get it ready so that we don't have to worry about it when it does start snowing. I want to be able to like dust the entire house. Dusting is definitely one of those chores that gets put off and is not done a lot of the time. So I feel like when you're constantly keeping up with like dishes and laundry and cleaning the bathroom and just kind of the normal stuff, yeah. I think it would be a good idea to dust everything down and just have a nice clean home to bring the baby home to, if that's possible. I think I'm done with meal prep. I did a video on that last time, and so you can check that out if you haven't seen it. And since then, I've added a couple more meals to our freezer, and luckily, I've got a wonderful friend who also is prepping some meals ahead of time for us, which is super sweet. And she's just kind of like giving me one of those every time we hang out. So keeping those in the freezer, and then I know that when he does come, we're gonna have a bunch of family that will also probably want to like bring us meals. So I'm not as worried about that. I do want to look up good types of snacks to have during the labor process, because one awesome thing about being at the birth center is that they don't restrict you from eating or drinking like lots of water. I don't have to be hooked up to an IV. So again, hopefully if everything goes as planned, that's where we will be and not a hospital setting. And if you prefer a hospital setting, like that's awesome. There's definitely no judgment here from me to you. But for us, we're looking forward to this birth center setting, and I think that having snacks on hand is going to be really helpful. But I need to kind of think through like what those should be. What can I buy that's not going to go bad and can also be easily and quickly consumed while I'm in labor, so that it gives me like that consistent energy boost and like nutrition, but doesn't take a lot of effort. I've heard, for example, those like chia squeeze packets, definitely not plastic free, but I don't think I will be caring about that at all when I'm in the middle of labor. So I've heard those are really great because it's just such a quick, like, you can just gulp that down and get a little bit of a boost, and then drinking tons of water. But I don't know. Applesauce, I really don't know what else to bring quite yet, so I'm going to have to look that up. But if you have any suggestions for great labor snacks, please let me know. We've got a few more thank you cards that we need to send out. I want to make a cloth wipe spray, so I could buy that as well if I just end up feeling crunched for time. But for our cloth wipes and everything for diaper changes, I just want to make like a really simple spray. And if I end up doing that, then I'll definitely share it with you guys and share the recipe, but we'll see how that goes. So there's like a million more things, it feels like, on our list, but those are kind of the biggest ones that are taking up like our headspace and our time right now. And then also we have been just super, super intentional about taking classes as much as possible. So we paid for the whole hypnobirthing course, which was like 5 weeks. Every session was 3 hours, so it was like 15 total hours. Totally worth it. It was amazing, and I feel like anybody who is giving birth should take that course or at least read the book. So we did pay for that one, but then we've also been taking a bunch of courses, and I talked about this in another video that I've got on my channel. They've all been free, and so lots of times if you have like a pregnancy center in your area, for example, you can access different types of education and resources like this. We've been going to the Colorado Family Life Center, and so this is just like our huge, it's just feeling so full now, but just all the notes and things that like we've been collecting. So this was from like our most recent class, talking about like infant care and expectations, but there's just like all these notes that we've gathered, and great resources. Basically, a lot of our time during the week is taken up with these courses as well, so lots of learning. But at this point, I also want to find like a better way to organize this so that if we need to reference something in the moment, like, I don't know, if we're trying to remember these techniques for like calming our baby when he's super fussy or something, it may not be reasonable to expect to actually use this stuff in that moment. But I know both Kevin and I are also very like planned out people. We like to have resources on hand. And so if I could have this organized in some way that makes it like super easily accessible in the moment, then we might have an easier time turning to those resources rather than just Googling everything, because I also know there can be so much danger with just like Googling stuff with your baby, and you can get really scared and freaked out by a lot of things that you probably don't need to. I have another booklet like that that's all about breastfeeding, and so I want to put together kind of like a breastfeeding kit for myself. So it would have like that booklet on hand with a bunch of resources and tips. It would have like, you know, if it's in like a basket or something is what I'm envisioning. It would have that. It would have the pump. It would have a couple bottles, like everything I need on hand for a breastfeeding session. I just want to keep it like easily accessible so that no matter where I am, like for the first few weeks, it's probably going to be the bedroom or like on the couch. Then I can just have that nearby and feel settled in some way as I'm figuring this out. So that's something I want to put together. And then the final-ish thing, I don't know if I can really say final. There's just constantly stuff popping up. But sort of the final thing that is taking up our headspace right now is reading through a bunch of books. So I've got like my little stack over here. I finished the course. We both finished the course of the hypnobirthing book, but I still technically have like a little bit left to read in the book, and I definitely want to finish it. And then if possible, I want to even like start to reread it and just read as much as I can all the way up until the day he's born, because I want to keep this information in my mind, like really as fresh as possible. The mindset work that is done through this course is incredibly helpful. So I need to finish this and then hopefully can reread it some. And then it also came with like our hypnobirthing spiral workbook. So there's a little bit left in here that I want to just finish up and then continue referencing. The next most important book on my list, and Kevin's already started reading this one, is Baby Wise, but I definitely want to get on this because I know also that this is a super controversial topic, so I don't intend to like put my opinion out there as right or I don't know. Like, I've just heard so many people arguing about this book. And I don't want to do that, but I am interested in reading it. And so that's something on my list to hopefully like just help come up with like a sleep schedule that will work for our baby. And of course, everyone's different. Every child is different. So this is more just going to be like a guide and a reference in that process. And then if possible, I'm also hoping to be reading through these books, but honestly, it may just need to be something that I start to read in that postpartum section of life. I don't know. This one's called The Fourth Trimester. So it is all about postpartum healing. My body is definitely not just going to bounce back to normal right away. And there's so much healing that needs to be done during that time, but there's also so much like mentally that's going to be going on and emotionally, and my hormones are going to be regulating. And so I've just heard that this like postpartum guide basically for healing and restoring your body and your mental wellness is a really good one. So I'm interested in that. I would like to read it if possible. And then finally, The Diaper-Free Baby, because we are interested in doing what the cool kids call EC. I can't even say that seriously. That doesn't come out of my mouth naturally. But EC, elimination communication, is basically this concept that is not new. It's basically the way that people did things before we even had diapers. And in many, many countries and cultures around the world, this is the way they still do things. So it just seems like a new concept, of course, to Americans. Anyway, we're very interested in the diaper-free baby. The whole idea is that you could get your kid to be potty trained way earlier than like the typical American child is, and a lot of that starts as early as possible. You can start it from day one, and a lot of it has to do with just like getting to know your baby, getting to know their cues for when they need to do their business, and how you can best respond to those cues as the parent, which also just feels so natural to me, because if we respond to their cues when we know that they're hungry or that they're tired or that we need to change their diaper, like why not pay attention to the cues before they've gone in their diaper so that we can like respond to them as quickly as possible. And of course, like we're not gonna be diaper free all the time or right away. It's gonna take so much work and practice. But anyway, it's the idea that like the earlier you start that, the better off you'll be and the more natural it's going to feel for both you and your baby. And so these are some of the things taking up space in my mind. And then on top of all of that, there's what I enjoy doing on this side. Like I love making these YouTube videos for you guys and social media stuff, working on my blog, working with clients, so like actual work. And yeah, I'm just figuring out how to wrap up all of that within the next couple weeks. Last week and the first few days of this week so far, I've just been like scrambling, just super busy to wrap up projects that I'm currently working on with other people, and then scheduling the content ahead of time for my blog and for social media so that you guys can still have access to content while I give myself a maternity leave. And that's something I've put on myself, but I want to do it. I'm excited for all the content that is going to go your way. If you're interested in any of that, I've got some incredible blog posts from some of my friends that are in like the sustainability world, the travel world, kind of just all over the place, but everybody that is guest writing for my blog while I'm on maternity leave is just amazing. And their posts are incredible. I've loved like reading them and putting them together on my site for you guys. So they're all scheduled to go up. And if you are on my email list, then you won't miss any of those things. So if you haven't signed up for my email list already, you can do that at my website, which I'll link below. It's just thatminimallife.com. And then you'll get about 2 to 3 emails per month through the end of the year. And that will keep you updated on like the new content that's going out from these guest bloggers or from other content that I've already prepared for you guys. And of course, I'll be sneaking in some baby updates once I have them. Pictures or video or something fun will head your way as well. So you want to be on my email list if you're not already. I probably won't be making YouTube videos for a little bit once he's first born, but I definitely look forward to getting back into that with the baby. So if you're not already subscribed to this channel, then you should probably do that too so that you don't miss anything when I get back on here. And then finally, if you follow me on social media, I will definitely be scattered throughout those next couple months, but I will be online when I can. You can find me especially at Instagram, which I'll link below, just that.minimal.life. And Patreon. Patreon's like the last one that if you would like to support what I'm doing, just the content that I create here, if you enjoy that, then Patreon is a really great way to financially support me, but then also receive bonus content. And so you could join for $5 a month. It goes up from there. There's different levels and different perks that come with each level. I can also link that below. And I think that's it. Thank you for following the wandering of my brain in this video. I don't want to say I'm sorry that it wasn't more put together because sorry, not sorry. It's a crazy time of life, but I appreciate you being here. I hope that something in that jumbled mess was possibly helpful to you or encouraging, or at least just made you feel like you're not alone if you're in this too. Again, if you have any thoughts you'd like to share, comment below, message me. I would love to hear from you. And if I can get myself together in the next couple weeks and get these things done, then there might be more videos coming your way. And if not, there is a baby coming our way. So you will be hearing about that soon-ish. Okay, thanks guys. Have a great week.